Hey guys, welcome to the Phoenix Project today. Going to be talking to Jordan Simi, just getting real in depth with how he got with the YKTR boys, but also a bit of his backstory and the plans for the future. Can't wait for you to listen. I am keen. Let's get into it, guys. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome to the Phoenix Project. I'm here with Jordan Simi, man. Welcome, man. It's good to have you here.
Thank you very much for having me, bro. Appreciate your time.
No, sweet, man. I appreciate it. If you asked me 2 weeks ago, if I was gonna be having an interview, podcast with you, man, I would never think that would be happening right now. But
thanks, man. I really appreciate it, eh?
No, sweet as. So yeah, let's get into it. So, with YKTR, man, how did you first connect with Ice and all the other boys?
I actually met Chico first, bro.
Chico,
him and I used to train together. Yeah, him and I used to train together, sprint train together. And then they had actually met my cousin over in Bali on the piss one time. And my cousin come over from Perth and we all linked up and sort of just kept in touch with the boys over that time period. And, I was living with me and Normie, got a place together down in Cronulla, and this was probably 2 years ago. And I was in and out of the content, and then just probably at the end of last year, Ice and I caught up to have a beer, and just came about. I was like, "Fucking, would you consider giving me my own podcast?" And let me jump on board. So he was all for it, and we just got the ball rolling pretty much around February, I think it was.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, and then just never really looked back since.
Sweet as. How did the whole idea of the podcast come? What was the whole idea when you first thinking about it? How did you get it, the idea?
Yeah. So I had jumped on Stokes there. I don't know if you've seen it, but like the Companion, which was like when they watched the. Yeah. So I jumped on that a few times. We had 10 in the can where we were just like talking housemates, all that sort of shit. And then, I'd always hit up Ice and be like, "Fuck, I want my own podcast. And he just literally just like, "Who are you going to interview? Like, what are you going to talk about?" And sort of didn't really come about until we were sort of just chilling one night, having a few beers, and it sort of just clicked to me. And I go, "Fuck, I know what I can do a podcast about." And I was like, I just interview personalities, interview chicks, talk about relationships, sex, love, partying, whatever it may be, just social interactions, anything like that, because obviously, with the boys, they were always constrained on what they could like talk about, right? They can't really talk about, they're talking to footy players and talking to people with a bit of status, so they couldn't really get into like the nitty gritty side of things. So that was sort of like the little gap there, and he was all for it straight off the bat. He was like, "Bro, that's a good idea." And we just went from there. But yeah, and to be honest with you, I've always had a sort of keenness to get on the talk on the radio, have a radio gig, but I couldn't be like studying and shit. And then just seeing the boys do the podcasts, and I don't think it was easy, but I was like, this seems cool, and I sort of had a bit of a passion for it, so I was like, fuck, I'm just gonna get into it. And like, thankfully, I had the YKTR platform to walk into. Like, a lot of people don't really have that, so it's quite hard to build up your following and build it up. But obviously, I got like a fast track, went through a fast track process with YKTR, and just been building it up over almost a year now.
Yeah, sweet as. How has that whole process been? Like, is this something completely you didn't do any podcast? Did you do any podcasting beforehand?
No. Just the ones that like Scope and shit invited me on. But no, I never really did any type of that space. I was in like construction and, you know, fashion. And so, you know, when I had my first episode, I was so nervous because it only hit me before I was going to go jump on the podcast that I was like, I'm asking questions, I'm talking to these people. And I've got to, you know, like, as you know, even just now, like, to be able to hold a conversation with someone, you got to learn how to like stare at it and, you know, ask the like good questions, and then obviously the people that you're interviewing got to be willing to talk as well, because sometimes you get people on and you go, oh, like, you know, what have you been up to? And they'll literally just be like, nothing.
Yeah, won't say much at all.
Cool.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, right, okay, sweet, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much it, man. So no experience beforehand. Obviously just watching the boys do well at it, and sort of how Justin would get around it and how he'd communicate with people. And I sort of just took like little bits from everyone. And the process over the year though, I think at the start, I wish I put a lot more energy into content in regards to blogs and, you know, just having confidence within my podcasting, just to get anyone on, get as many people on as possible. I think I was a bit too picky, and, you know, and then like obviously COVID came back and slowed the whole process down again. But yeah, that's like, you obviously always look back and you're like, I should have done this, should have done that. But in all honesty, it's all starting to like go ahead. Like, it's chatting to sponsors, you know, like all these little things are starting to come to fruition that I sort of had planned in my mind when I started. So
no, sweet as. So with with the grouse and a few reds, how'd you get that? How'd the name come up with that?
Oh fuck. So like, grouse is like, obviously the boys, we all say it all the time.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an Aussie thing. I don't know, not too many people say it, so that's like an old Aussie thing. But you know, you just like on a Friday night, just go to the boys like, oh, you know, let's have a few reds and a bit of grouse, you know. We'll just be like, oh, grouse and a few reds, like, cool.
Yeah, cool.
So I was actually at a friend's place around the kitchen bench, and that sort of when it come to mind, I was like, fuck, this would be like a perfect podcast name. And then I hit up Jackson, because Jackson and I bounce between each other really well. He can really steer like a conversation really well. And we both sort of play our roles really well. So it's hard to have a show that gets people engaged when you know, you have two personalities on there, you know, that they're like Americans. You have to sort of have someone that can, you know, so it's coming along pretty well. I think we're like 5 or 6 episodes in, and we're still trying to tweak it, because the hard thing is like, if you're always talking about the same shit, you know, oh, I did this on the weekend, and oh, this chick, and you know, I'm going to do this on the weekend. Like, people get over it, you know. So we're still tweaking it. We're adding in like things that are happening in everyday life in Australia and New Zealand, you know. But when lockdown ends, we'll be looking to you know, get guests on, and just interact with like listeners and shit a lot more. I mean, we started calling people as well from Doozy Club, and just calling randoms, almost like a radio show type vibe. You know, so it's exciting times, man. And I think the show will do really well. And you know, I got hit up by a spirits company like yesterday or the day before, who one of the guys I've known for a while, but, you know, lost contact. He obviously follows me on Instagram, and he's like, mate, watch Grouse and a Few Reds. Spoke to the marketing team at his company. He's like, we'd love to sponsor your podcast and, you know, do giveaways and things like that. So
sweet, that's awesome. Sweet.
Yeah, really good, really cool.
So what's the whole plan like in, say, years time? Where do you want it? What's the whole plan for till then?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I sort of like, with podcasting, is this what I'm going to do for a living for the rest of my life? And, obviously I'm 29 now. I mean, I could do this for another bloody 10 years, but I think the plan would be to double down on content, like vlogging and podcasting, making sure that, I start to get, hire people with like a bit more status and, from different types of cuts of life, and just focus on like the quality of people that are coming on. Just making sure the conversations are really good. And I think we've been going in a pretty good direction. Just as I said, with like sponsors reaching out now, I think it'll just automatically just go in the direction we want to. But I mean, I believe in Australia and New Zealand, even though there's so many podcasts out there, it's such a fresh new space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
not close to its potential yet. It's
no way. So it's hard when you're talking to sponsors or people that want to invest in whatever it may be. Like we spoke about it on Grouse and a few Reds, talking about starting our own red wine company as a joke, and then that sort of we need to meet up with the guy, but we have to wait till after lockdown. But that's got some legs just after talking a bit of shit on there. So, my focus over the next year would just to build the interaction up, build the views up, build the downloads up, build the content up with the boys, and focus on like sponsorship opportunities, collaborations, and go from there, really. I mean, if I try and plan too far ahead on like, I want to start this, I want to start that, then you just sort of forget about what's actually important right now. Yeah. So I'm just going to, focus on podcasting for the next year. And I think everything else will take care of itself.
No, sweet. So do you have any other ideas outside of podcasting that you want to pursue?
There is a few, but there's a few things with YKTR that are in the funnel. I can't really talk about it, but that will give me more opportunity within the company. I don't really know time frame on that, but I think what I can see now is people are starting to see that podcasting and vlogging and what we have at YKTR is quite a unique thing. So especially here in Australia and New Zealand, to have like a good foothold on both countries in regards to a following. I'm just going to focus on that for now, and then when opportunities within YKTR start to pop up, I've already put my hand up for a few of them, so that'll most likely come to fruition over the next 2 years.
No, sweet, because YKTR, they're very these are very unique, and I think if it wasn't for yous like YKTR, I think Australian, New Zealand podcasting would be not as growing at the moment.
Yeah.
I think it's really helped other podcasters and sort of promoted podcasting and stuff like that.
For sure.
Area stuff, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. There's obviously like podcasts out there that kill it. You got Hamish and Andy, fucking, all that jazz. But I think in New Zealand it has, ICE has sort of potentially sort of broken down that barrier where it's a nerve-wracking thing to jump on and talk to someone about their life, or to talk about your life, or talk about your ideas, talk about what you want to achieve. And so I definitely think he had a massive impact on, that type of space in New Zealand for sure.
No, sweet. So with podcasting, what do you have any cool visitors that you could be getting on in the next? I do actually. This is a funny one. Did you hear about that fake high school gridiron team? No, I haven't actually. It's
so funny, man. It's literally been all over all the news and stuff. There's just, anyways, I hit up one of the coaches from that team, and he's keen as to jump on the podcast and talk about that whole experience. And the funny thing is, And the funny thing is, a lot of the players and a lot of the coaches from that team, this only happened over the past few days, so it's probably still going to have a few days to catch legs, but no one can get interviews with any of these players and stuff. So this guy just reached out to this guy who was the wide receiver coach, and he's like, yeah, sweet, let's do it. And then so I'll have him on next week, and then I'm waiting to hear back from a friend who has connected me with one of the wide receivers from the Houston Texans.
Oh, true.
So
okay.
The NFL team.
Yeah.
So so that's pretty much it for the next two. But I'm aiming to look at getting like some of the girls off The Bachelor, getting some like social media influencers. But I think for now, like I much rather them come into the office and do face to face, because like it's just much easier, and you get to really know someone when you sit down in front of them. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a few footy players as well that that are either retiring or out of contract, or they're changing clubs, that are keen to have a chat on the off season about experiences with their past clubs and shit like that. So I've got a few people in the woodworks, but yeah.
So, because what are you trying to grow your podcast into? Do you have an idea that you're trying to exactly grow it?
My thing is my initial idea when I started was to get females on the podcast that sort of tell like female secrets on how a man should communicate with a woman, or how to pick up a girl, or what girls like, because everyone obviously has different preferences. So that was my initial goal. But see, in Australia and New Zealand, because it's such a new space, a lot of females are intimidated to come on a podcast, especially to talk to a male about sex and relationships and all that, everything in that space. So it's just, I mean, I know heaps of girls that, would absolutely kill it on the podcast, but they'd just be so like nervous, or they don't want to say the wrong thing and get cancelled, or, people label them like a slut or something like that. So it's just, I'm slowly chipping away at it. And I think, actually when I get certain people on, I'll all of a sudden get like another influencer or another actor or another TV personality pop up and then start following me. So then I'll just jump on it straight away. Hey, listen, would you like to come on a podcast? And it sort of happens organically like that. But yeah, it's cool to get a chick's perspective on, how they want to be treated and what they look for in a guy, and, what they offer if they're single, things like that. So yeah, it is hard. It is hard, but yeah, just got to chip away at it.
So since you've started podcasting, what's the biggest thing you've learned from doing it?
The biggest thing I've learned from podcasting is, there's a few, but what I've learned from podcasting is sometimes you might think, I'm going to get this person on and it's going to do really well. Right. And then they come on, the podcast is good, but for some reason it just doesn't pop off. And then sometimes I'll be like, I don't even want to get this person on. And then all of a sudden, bang, like blows up. So I learned to not really like judge people by sort of what they can bring, but like, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If it's gonna pop off, it's gonna pop off. But the model that I would love to sort of copy is like over in the States, you're getting like OnlyFans chicks, you're getting models, you're getting influencers to jump on these podcasts, and they speak so openly about, their life, whether it be relationships, sex, like heartbreak, like happiness. It's okay for them to talk about it. But over here, it's like, it's almost like taboo, they don't want to go too deep into things. So, yeah.
So what's your day to day with setting up the podcast and just setting up everything with YKTR? What's your whole like day to day, weekly basis?
So Scope and I sort of run on the same time slots. Out of COVID, what it would mostly look like is like we'd be in there pretty much every day. We don't need to stay there every day. We sort of come in, do our content, plan out maybe like 3-4 weeks in advance of like vlogs. We'll do our podcasts. We'll sort of have our own time slots. So maybe on like, if I was to do, if we were in lockdown, I drop podcasts on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So like the back end of the week is I'm mostly in the office. We see Monday and Tuesday. That's when Scope's in. So, and then you've also got to work around when guests can come in or even jump on. So then you got to make sure that, the studio's free. But day to day, we literally just be like, okay, say we're having our calendars, Jordan versus Scope versus Simi. You guys are going to go up to Brisbane or whatever, or you guys are going to go do this down here, and we'll go do it, shoot off, come back the next day. It's sort of all over the shop because we just go off like when we can get people on the podcast but what I'm keen to do is with YKTR, if you can provide more of a service, if you can bring more to the table, whether it be cutting up your own vlogs and stuff, because Scope and I don't do that. That's all done for us. So we just come in and do the podcast, send it through, or, and then just, here you go, boys. So, learning to cut up, your own vlogs, your own podcast, uploading it, doing the thumbnails, all that. If you're able to do that and then also provide more of a service to, say, ICE, like for me, I'm trying to push into the sales role for YKTR. So if I can consistently bring on sales opportunities and sponsorship opportunities, then I'm more inclined to, be in there full time and working on that full time. But if I'm just doing podcasting and blogs, then it's sort of just come in when it's your time to come in.
No, sweet. So, what advice would you give to someone that wants to get into like podcasting and stuff like that, or stuff that you're doing?
Yeah, it's honestly it's really weird to give advice because I know that I'm honestly like really lucky with having YKTR's platform for me. So it's hard for me to give advice and be like, but if I was to give any advice to anyone, it would literally just, pick something that you're passionate about. Do your homework on those subjects and just double down on it. And, you're going to get a lot of people who are like, who's this guy? What is that? Why is he talking about this? Like, who is he? And then you just got to sort of like push that out and stay the course. But I can only imagine what it would be like starting with no platform. It would be a grind, It's a grind, and especially to ask people to come on your podcast is, I guess that's the hardest thing. I don't know about you, but I find.
Well, at the moment, you're the biggest, I guess, guest I've had so far. Beforehand,
yeah,
I
actually genuinely love your questions, man. Like, they're totally different to what other people have asked me. So, I mean, I guess I hope that this definitely helps with bringing on bigger personalities and people with
sweet,
more
man.
to offer.
No, thanks, man. But with guests and stuff, this is only my fifth or sixth one I've done. So it's at the moment, I haven't asked big guests yet. You're my first like big guest that I've actually like asked. Yeah. So at the moment, it's not easy, but hasn't been too hard to get guests on at the moment. But I reckon once I'm just sort of just trying to learn first and just trying to just get
just navigate through it all.
Just navigate, basically at the moment. And then once I sort of get good with it and know what I'm doing, I'll try and get some bigger
Yeah,
people on.
For sure.
So, but yeah, so with your podcasting, what's the next step?
The next step for us is like, say for example, I've got one of the podcasts called The Oracle. It's sometimes it does well, sometimes it doesn't, but that's just betting for you. But obviously the NRL season's over, so
yeah,
either I've got to look for a different type of podcast to present to the team and see if that's able to flow, or I just double down on grousing a few reds and make it more maybe just do 2 episodes a week on that, or even just make that my main focus. But I think the next steps would be to look at sponsorship opportunities, because it's definitely like the numbers are really good, and we want that's the whole point of working, is to obviously get an income. So that's just going to make things a lot easier, and it's just a new space, man. So the next steps would just be looking at sponsorship opportunities, and just making the podcast worthwhile listening to, because sometimes we can put out some episodes and honestly they're just like, they don't bring much value, or they're just like a little bit all over the shop. So
yeah, I
just really want to like get the podcast really popping and be able to give people like value. So I think grousing a few reds is going in the right direction, like from calling people up. Like, we've never done that before. Calling people live, listening to messages when people call in and ask for advice. So we're just going to build on that and go from there.
Well, yeah, I really think that's a cool idea. It's not something that a lot of people. It's a really new sort of idea with podcasting. So I reckon that will grow, and it's a really good idea. And what do you with that? Do you just get people on the? Did you say the Doozy Club?
Yeah, so we call up. Yeah, well, because we've got all the members' information, right? So
yeah,
Doozy Club's obviously a new space for us, and during lockdown, we just want to make sure that we're providing a good service and in any way possible. So we just thought we'd connect with people on Doozy Club. We've got their numbers, call them up randomly, have a chat to them, do giveaways. There's heaps of merch that we've given away over the past few episodes. Someone won the whole Life Appreciation collection. So yeah, it's pretty funny sometimes, because people are like, oh, what the hell? This is crazy, and you forget, you forget that these people are, that people genuinely love what we do and they support us. So yeah.
So what have you enjoyed most since you've started the podcast? What's been the best part about it?
Best part about podcasting is more, that actual podcasting, I just enjoy talking shit to people. I love getting to know people, understanding their stories, helping people out wherever it can be, like, providing a laugh, or someone might give a bit of advice that might then help someone else, also as well since podcasting, working a 9 to 5 absolutely sucks. I believe it sucks, but the podcasting, working as doing podcasting now is just giving me the opportunity to, I wake up in the mornings, I go for a walk or go for a run, go for a swim, get a coffee. You can plan your day around how you want to live, how you want your lifestyle to be like. So you can organize a podcast at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And, it's given me that freedom to do things that I probably wouldn't be able to do if I worked a 9 to 5.
So since you've been doing podcasting, has it made life a bit more flexible? And you'd say
definitely.
Sweet. Because what's your morning routine like?
my morning routine is, and I'm not trying to be a mad person or mad, but cool or anything, but I'll probably wake up around 2 o'clock, between 2 and 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. That's just naturally like my body clock. As soon as I wake up, I'm sweet. Like I don't feel tired. Majority of the time I will try and go back to sleep because like by 2 o'clock I'm dozing off. So usually I will try and get like another hour sleep, but most of the time I'm out of bed by like 5:36. Go for a walk. The gyms aren't open at the moment, but usually I'd go work out with Scope or the other boys every morning. But at the moment, it's just wake up at around 5:36, go for a walk or go for a run, and then go for a ocean swim every morning.
No, sweet. So, what's been before you were doing podcasting? What was like your biggest success, and also what's also something that's been your biggest, I would say, failure?
Before podcasting, I think my biggest success, it's hard to say really. My biggest success would most likely be my kids, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So, not going into too much detail, but, they definitely changed. I think my biggest failure, to be honest, would have to be over the past 3 years. I've said it on other podcasts, I somewhat gave up on life, not like depression wise, but maybe a little bit, but I sort of just gave up on like working hard and being true to who I actually am, cutting corners in life, sort of just not really giving a fuck about, my actions and how it affected other people. And yeah, that's probably it, man. Just giving up on, just being a good person. I just didn't care. And thankfully and grateful as that I just had the right people in my life that sort of just pulled me out and shook me up a bit. And honestly, like I've got to say, the last year at YKTR, just getting, like mending burnt bridges, mending relationships with people that I had fallen out with, and relationships with family and stuff over the past year, just rebuilding that. And yeah, it's been amazing, bro. But I definitely still have a lot of like, not regrets, but I always look back on the last 3 years. I'm like, fuck, how did I let it get to that? So, but I mean, it's definitely makes me want to be a better person and work harder and be just grateful as fuck.
No, that's the way, man. You gotta be grateful for what you have, because it's not gonna
Exactly.
get better for you. You're just gonna be down on yourself. Because
100%.
what if you want to get in more detail, what gave you that mindset in the past to be like that?
Like the failure?
Yeah.
Man, to be honest, I love your questions, man. And I enjoy opening up like this, because obviously the platform that we have allows other people that are potentially going through the same thing to go, oh shit, like there is light at the end of the tunnel where you can change. What made me get to that space was just split up with my ex. Kids moved away. Our work was in Sydney. They were up in Queensland. And that just, I didn't know at the time, man, but it really fucked me up. Like it really just broke my heart being away from them. But I was just so lost, man, as a person. I was just so lost. And like I had gone through a lot of things in my earlier life that sort of just pushed me to like, fuck, I just gave up, And that time, and I had a few losses in my life, as everyone does, but just personally, it just those just tipped me over the edge as well. Career opportunities that I let slip just through like just being lazy or not being hungry to succeed anymore. Because I was always an ambitious person coming up young. I was always wanting to be the best and make money and, you know, fucking just be, you know, a cool cat. And it sort of unraveled on me. And I was like, fuck, it just kept happening. And then, you know, I just didn't have that resilience anymore. And then, as I said, thankfully, a lot of my friends got together and were just like, man, you've got so much to offer. And you know, you've got 2 daughters, like it's time to pull your head in. So, I mean, I was like, fucking nice. I was like, yeah, let's do it, you know. And sometimes you make slip-ups and shit, but this is probably the first time I've been passionate and like actually genuinely love what I do. So, yeah.
No, sweet. So like with
definitely learn from all that shit though.
No, that's good. That's good then, because yeah, life can be freaking hard at times, you know, but it's worth it at the end, you know. There's a lot of challenges that come through, but you learn from it and makes you a better person.
For sure. And like, I said this on another podcast, but you know, sometimes you can fall into the habit of like feeling sorry for yourself a lot of the time. And that's always your safety net to catch you when, you know, you fuck up or you make a mistake or, you know, you're not doing well at work or you're not doing well at like, and you're always like, oh man, you know, this happened. And you've got to just consciously make an effort to go, fuck, I can't keep like using that as an excuse. So yeah, over the past year, I've like taken a really good look in the mirror and just accepted the mistakes that I've made and I almost built a mental plan on how to fix all those mistakes and, you know, make sure that shit never happens again.
No, that's awesome, man. What would you say to someone that is currently going through that situation at the moment? What advice would you give?
Oh, man, it's hard to give advice because a lot of people aren't blessed in regards to who they have around them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, even in saying that, if you've really got to take a step back at where your life is and see sort of where you want to go and who you want to be and how you want to be treated and how you're going to treat people. And it's really easy just to like break it up and do the little things right, you know, like if work's not going well because you're partying all the time, the key would be to stop partying, you know, spend that time on working. You might have money issues, you know, because you're spending all your money on the weekend and on partying, or you might have potential like issues with your family, but because you're not seeing them enough, you're not speaking to them enough. So it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to make time. So it's like, it's really just breaking down what you're doing and taking out the shit things and, you know, bringing in things that you know are going to change the outcome and take you where you want to go.
Sweet. I've seen, I watched one of the, someone else's podcast that you were on, just, I think the start of the day I was listening to it, and you're talking about the mental health in New Zealand and stuff like that. Is that something that you're very serious and sort of want to help get out into a better space?
Yeah, I do, and that's for personal reasons too. I've had a few losses in that space. You know, I've been in that space mentally back in the day, and you know, it's hard. It's hard when you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. But as I said on that podcast, like my thing is, you can't help someone until you've helped yourself, you know, until you've made sure that your life's on track. Because there's no point giving people advice and like trying to help people when like you're giving and then you're going home to like say a shit relationship or like, shit job or things like that. So my it's a hard one. Yeah. Anyways.
Nah, sweet, but
it's
mental health.
Yeah, it's a crazy what I'd love to do. I know that YKTR has a massive a massive fucking fan base or following over in New Zealand. My idea is that's what I'm passionate about. Love helping people, but I want to make sure that I utilize what we have and build something really special in order to get the right people around me to then make change in that area in New Zealand. So I mean, even over this past year, I mean, meeting All Blacks, talking to All Blacks on Instagram, talking to influencers over there. Ice is very keen on doing a lot of things in that space, and he's obviously 100% in the right space to do that, where I'm not, right? So I guess I'll definitely be a part of it and give my 2 cents here and there. But I mean, for now, just coming on podcasts and talking about mental health and letting people know that, how I've dealt with things or how I've overcome things, and not I'm nothing special. I'm just a normal person that's been given really good opportunities. So it's almost just getting people to trust me. So I think maybe in the next 2 years, I definitely come back to New Zealand and try and build something that, will help youth. I spoke to one of the boys about my idea on it. Is I'll just go off it. I'm just gonna go off it, right? So because I hate talking about it because it's so far away down the track, but my long-term goal, right, is obviously to have money and my family's good, kids good, mum's good, baby girl's good, and so that's obviously what you want the main focus to be. And then in the mental health space, I'd love to go back to New Zealand, and it's almost a culture change. Okay, so you've got a lot of domestic violence in New Zealand, and I genuinely believe it starts from at home, and it starts from children, because you become a product of your environment.
Yep, that's it.
So I definitely want to have an impact on, talking to parents about, certain behaviors, or getting the right people to talk to parents. And as I said, getting that trust where, someone might be amazing in that space where they can communicate with parents or children, but then they don't have the trust of that community to come together. So it's almost I'd love to have be that middleman that brings the right people to come into those communities and try and change the way that things happen at home. I'm fucking keen as, man.
Oh, that sounds keen. When is there a specific time that you'd like to end up doing that by, or are you sort of just going with it at the moment?
It's so far down the track because I'm so fresh at YKTR and fresh with this influencer, the social media vibes. So there's no date or any plans in place right now. But long-term goal would be I come from South Auckland, right? So I would love to create a non-government funded hub where children and teenagers and even adults can come to learn about things outside of South Auckland, things outside of their community, because you don't know what you don't know.
That's it.
You know what I mean? You don't know that there's better things out there in life. You don't know that you don't need to join a gang because your dad's in it. You don't know that you don't need to drink because, you know what I mean? So that would be the long-term goal for me, man, to just create environments for people to learn on different things in life. And I'm fucking keen as to do it.
Oh, that's cool, man. Because what was your whole experience growing up in double? You You were born in South. Oh, were you born? You were born in South Auckland, and then
I was born in Middlemore Hospital. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was born in Middlemore Hospital in South Auckland.
How long did you live in New Zealand for?
I left when I was 15.
Yep.
Sorry.
Because
up.
No, all good. Because what was that? How was your whole growing up experience over there, and then also transitioning from New Zealand to Australia?
Okay, yeah. So this is just not from the environment I grew up in. This is from how my father grew up, how kids in my community grew up, and my friends grew up.
Yeah.
There was just a lot of drinking, a lot of, drugs, a lot of violence, domestic violence, this real fucked up shit, right? And just being around that, it actually is just normal because you see it every day.
Yeah.
So none of that stuff was weird for me. Like none of that, getting hidings and, seeing my mates getting beaten up from their fucking dad and shit like that. Like, for my mates being left from their families and things like that. All that stuff's normal. The drinking, the parties that mum and dad have at home and shit like that. It's so normal that I didn't know that there was like really anything else besides just doing that, and going to work and coming home and fucking arguing and, drinking, fucking smoking weed. Until I got like a golden ticket out of fucking South Auckland, and I was really, really lucky because I got a scholarship when I was 11 years old to King's Prep, and still a lot of things were derailed for me in my life, but just getting that ticket out of South Auckland, going to fucking King's Prep and King's College in that short amount of time changed my whole outlook on life. And I met a lot of really, really good influential people that showed me that you can really do anything with your life. You can really achieve anything, no matter where you come from. So yeah, I got lucky, man. Like a lot of my friends either in jail or, that I grew up with before Kings are in jail or dead or fucking working, living exactly the life that we grew up in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, it's like I look back on it and you always say, I wouldn't change it for the world. But I always ask myself this question, man. And let me know if I'm going too deep, but always ask myself the question, like, when you look back on those times and like where you are now, you always go, holy shit, like how was that even possible? It's like, how can you even grow up in that type of environment? So I think that's maybe a motivator for me to get back and, over there and help children that are in the same position.
No, cool. Because transitioning from New Zealand to Australia, how did you think how did it exactly change how you thought, and just the different of communities and different vibes and different everything? How was that transition and everything like that?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I haven't even really spoken about this on any podcast, but you just asked some fucking really good questions that no one's asked me before, man. So I appreciate that, eh?
Good, man.
After the King's College stint, had a loss in the family, right? So it derailed a lot of people's fucking idea on life and goals and whatever. And, I was actually pretty much homeless for most of my teenage life, in and out of homes, living on the street.
Sorry to hear that, man. But
nah, sweet, man. It's all good. And it was weird because it's almost like I went from one extreme to the other, back to the same, back to something worse, you know. So like I went from South Auckland to then King's College. It's like this fucking Harry Potter school, and then going to be homeless and, you know, not eating some nights and not, you know, not being able to speak to family, not knowing anyone in Australia and in this new country. So that was, for me, it was like, the transition was, it was fucking hard because I was all alone in the country. And then I got to link up, thankfully, through rugby. I met amazing families, amazing friends. Then, you know, family came back into my life when rugby started to pop off, and then had another loss over there. And I ended up actually running away. And
oh, true. Okay.
I moved to Kalgoorlie. I moved to Kalgoorlie, this desert town in the mines.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
How the hell did you end up?
Yeah, it was hard. That was probably it's fuck. I tell you, man, I've got the weirdest thing. I can meet anyone and talk to anyone and just vibe with anyone, bro. So I met this guy, and he was like, oh, you know, I work up in the mines, work for an engineering company, blah, blah, blah. Ended up linking up with him, went up to the desert. And I remember just laying there, man, before I went to sleep. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Because like, this is like a proper desert town. You're in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, I have no idea. Like I linked up a job for an engineering company called CPC Engineering, and it's like cleaning tools. So I was like, oh yeah, sweet. And then like we were just cleaning tools, and I was like 18. And then my first pay, I think we were on like maybe 120 a year. So like then it went from being homeless and then living at different friends' houses and jumping around everywhere to then moving up to this mining town and then being on a 6-figure salary. And then that was a fucking crazy time, because
that's a big jump.
You give a kid like 6 figures and no one trying to help you with like managing your finances, like no one telling you what you should be doing. You know, I just went fucking crazy, man. You know, I'd do 4 weeks on or 6 weeks on in the desert, and then I'd fucking fly to Bali. I'd party in Bali, come back, work for another 6 to 8 weeks. You know, and that was a weird time for me too, man, because I was so far from home, literally in the middle of in the desert in Western Australia, and like you just have these small little rooms, and you fucking just, some nights I'd just sit there and I'd be like, what am I doing? What am I doing here? And then I just ended up progressing. Within the company, and then, you know, jumped over. But I've had like hard times being consistent, right? Because if I don't like something, I won't do it, right? If I'm not enjoying something, I won't do it. So then I ended up jumping to Down EDI, which was another mining company. So I joined on with them, worked in the mines with them for a few years, then moved to Sydney. And ended up working at the fucking Navy base, doing sort of the same type of work, but shutdowns on Navy boats and shit. So, you're the first person I told that shit to too.
True.
From the boys at YKTR.
Oh, true. Okay. Oh yeah, thanks for sharing that. But how the hell did you get from there to YKTR? How's the whole steps taught? How did you get how did you get there to YKTR, man?
Oh, so I was playing rugby union at Randwick in Sydney, and then, you know, I was obviously into footy then, and then I linked up with the sprint coach Roger Fabry, and he sort of trained all the NRL players and union players and Iron Women and shit. So I linked up there, and that's when Chico and I met. So that's when him and I met. And then we weren't really mates, but then we'd meet each other out. We'd see each other out, drink, have a party, whatever, and then sort of lose contact. And then met Normie, and Normie and I got along like a house on fire. So him and I were like, we'd catch up every week, go for beers and shit. And then, and then over time, like the boys would always have podcasts and I would always have podcasts, and they were doing vlogging and, I'd just jump on some vlogs or, jump on someone's potty when I was drunk. And then, that's sort of just how it all came about, man. It was just because I pretty much knew them since he started, like in 2016, 2017. Yeah. So I'd always sort of been around on and off, but then I didn't really get involved until I moved to Macquarie, and we just vibed out. And then, Ice was just always like, getting me into a few things here and there, and then and just popped off. I was like, fuck, I just want my own podcast.
Oh, well, sweet as. Well, that's all the questions got for you, man. I really appreciate you coming on, man. Is there anything you'd like to share?
Thank you so much, bro.
No, all good, man. All good.
No, honestly, like the questions you asked, man, it's like they were good questions, bro. They were really good questions. Sometimes I get on podcasts and get asked the same shit and
just the same stuff,
same stuff. But like, I appreciate it, and I want to, as I said, I want to open up about my experiences, because I know that it could potentially have a ripple effect on other people's lives now. And if people can see that I'm talking about heartache and how to overcome it, then potentially they might do the same thing. You never know.
Well, that's why I started this. I wanted to try and help people sort of self-improve in themselves.
100%.
Sort of stuff. That's why I wanted to. That's why I started this podcast. Talk to people like you and other people, and sort of get inside their story, but also share it. Yeah, so these people in the audience can sort of learn from that and find their own direction, sort of thing. But
thanks. Honestly, I really appreciate it, bro. I loved it. Where do you live again?
I live 2 hours inland from Brisbane, actually. In Warwick.
Oh, grouse.
I just moved down here at the start of the year. I grew up in Cairns.
Cairns. Yeah,
for a good 10 years. Grew up most of my life up there, and just moved down here at the start of the year with some family.
Well, man, we'll have to definitely link up when we come up to Brisbane and Goldie.
Yeah, for sure, man. Because I want to try. Yeah, for sure. Because I want to try and move into to Brisbane at some point in the next year or so.
100.
And try and get over there. But anyway, thanks again for joining the podcast, man. Is there anything you'd like to share, like your podcast, Instagram, stuff like that?
Oh man, just my podcast is Jordan's Room. Instagram is jordan.simi, and listen to Grouse and a few Reds.
Oh, sweet as. But thanks for coming on, man. Definitely have to do this again in the future for sure.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate you, man. Grouse, let me know when you're gonna drop it. Let me know when you're gonna drop it, and I'll chuck it up. No,
for sure. It should be, I would say Wednesday. It'll be Wednesday next week.
All right, bro.
Sweet as.
Sounds good, man. Thanks again, brother.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Okay.
Cheers.
Catch ya.
Later, bro.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Phoenix Project. Don't forget to help yourself, spread the word, and let everyone know what's going on down, guys. Let everyone know what's going on down. But I hope you just learned something. I had a really good chat with Jordan Simi. It was a good time. I couldn't believe that I was talking to him. But guys, thanks for listening. And I hope to see you at the next episode. See you.